Hey, girlfriends, how are you today? We have a story coming to you from Marina Painter. She is over on the other side of the country from me, and I think she's got some snow here in Seattle. We are experiencing just our normal winter with a little rain. But you know what is so fun is that we get to come together wherever we are across the US or even around the world and share stories. And so it is just so fun to have you here, Marina. Welcome to the Being Brave Tour podcast.
Thank you, Karen, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, as we share the stories, there's ladies be listening in, your story might be different, but there's these commonalities. It's the experiences that we walk through, the emotions that we go through, the things that we overcome. And Marina, your story is a little one about determination and getting through things, through some really tough things that you went through in your life. But before we get into your story, let's talk a little bit just about who you are and what you do in today's world.
Sounds good. So I'm a CPA. I'm in the finance world. I do numbers for a living. I love what I do. I've been doing it for 25 years. And the new phase, so I've kind of done the CPA, the traditional CPA work for quite a long time. What I'm really trying to dive into now is more strategic, advanced tax planning, because statistically, it's only 1% of US population that makes 250 plus K that does not pay any tax. And you know how they do that? By tax planning.
Oh.
Proper tax planning.
Okay, so that's like a whole new concept that I don't even really know a lot about, tax planning. Oh my God.
Absolutely, because the commissioner of the IRS and the Supreme Court judge both said the same exact thing in the last 7 years, is that the code was not designed for you to overpay in tax. It was designed for you to pay your fair share of tax. But you need to know the code or know somebody like me that knows the code to help you.
Oh
So,
my
and that's, I truly believe in that, right? Because it's not the wealth that you build along the years of your life. It's the wealth you preserve, because the money, instead of paying to the government the least amount legally possible, I'm not saying illegal things, I'm talking about everything that's designed in the code by, intentionally, right? But if we utilize all those great tools that are available to us, we preserve our wealth, right? And I'll just give you a quick example, kind of because I just did it this morning. The guy came to me, he's new to me, knew nothing about tax planning. So I kind of opened this whole new world for him. But guess what? He's very, very happy right now because he got to save 146,000. He's making 350,000. He got to save 146,000 by the reshuffle with all the legal tools in the code. Now think about it. If he sticks with his plan, he's in the 40s, sticks with his plan for the next 10 years, that's 146,000 in tax. Right? It's a 1.4.
Yeah.
So 146,000 times 10, right? And then you, on top of that, will add the compounded interest. You have a fully built retirement plan. So not only that you don't have to work for the rest of your life, but now you dive into the world of passive income. And passive income, as we all know, is the best income when the income or the capital works for you, not for it. You're not working for it. It works for you, right? So you can actually take it easy and enjoy life more.
We
So
didn't know we were going to get some extra tips along with this story.
that's what you get. I can't help it.
And we are recording in January, so this is what perfect timing, girls, to know that it can be a strategic plan in knowing the code and knowing the right people, and that's what we love here.
It's that saying, right? Failure to plan is planning to fail, right? And it's anything we do in life, whether it's finances, taxes, health, anything.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we love having our girlfriends because we can tap into the resources and all the goodness that they bring to us here in Fave and in our Being Brave tour. And that's part of being brave, Marina, too, is stepping out. So I remember when I was walking through a divorce, and traditionally my husband had kind of taken care of the taxes and a lot of the bigger finances. I did the day to day stuff. You divide and conquer. But I was so scared, and I was really looking. It's like, who can I tap into? How can I plan this out? How can I plan the rest of my finances for the rest of my life? Because I had a certain amount to deal with, and I really was scared, to be honest. And I didn't know who to turn to, and I tried to find the right people, but I wasn't getting the right answers.
But you remember the scariest part about that was that what was the scariest part about finances?
Oh, it was that I thought I was going to run out, that I was going to have enough because in my family, everybody lives till like, in their 90s
Mhm.
or maybe to 100. So I thought, okay, I've got X amount of dollars. How am I going to make that work? And then even to think about taxes was just even scarier. But, it was just compounding fear, if you will.
You know what I noticed? Because again, I've been doing this for a quarter century, quite a long time, which is the craziest thing to say that when I say it out loud.
I know, especially because you look so young too. And it's like, how could you be doing that?
Yeah, you see all the great way that does better. But we'll keep it at that. My oldest daughter is 19, so it kind of tells you something. But anyhow, so but what I notice is it's the unknown factor that scares
Yeah.
people, because it's the world we dive in, and if we don't know, because we don't have this control, right? And I'm not saying the control like bad thing, control as meaning like you can't wrap your head around it, you don't know what beast you're dealing with.
Right.
That's the scary part. That's why I love what I do, because you get to demystify it, because it's not scary, it's
Oh,
easy. It's easy as long as you know your ABCs.
yes. And so one of the things that's really scary is that you don't always know the right questions to ask. And so that's why I put in kind of in my little plan of action, it was to talk to 3 people in each category, whether it was a financial planner, a tax person, because usually by the time I talked to the third person, I finally figured out what questions I should be asking.
Right, because you don't know what you don't know. Okay.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
you have to be your own advocates, which means that you have to, at some point, you'll get there by asking the questions and educating yourself. That's how you succeed in life, in
Yes.
anything you do.
Yeah, that's one of my pillars is education is power. But I love what you said about demystifying.
Yeah.
That is like, yes, that's the word that we need to be using. And, whether it's health and wellness, or whatever, finances, growth in your mindset, whatever it is, to demystify some of those things so it's not scary.
Because also, right, if you go back to the finance world itself, it's just historically known to be a man's world,
Right.
right? And I can attest to it. I am still with a bunch of guys and suits and all those things. My favorite, though, I was asked this question just recently on some podcast. What is it like to be a woman in a man's world? And I
Yeah.
actually had to pause for a second. I'm like, he's right. I'm like, I didn't even think about it.
Oh,
Thinking to myself, like, well, why is it that I'm not even thinking about it? You know what it comes down to?
what's
If
that?
you know your stuff and you're confident, it doesn't matter where you are.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter, because the truth, the knowledge is still the same. The code is still the same.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. I do remember, though, a long time ago, like 20 some years ago, when I was still with corporate America. I've been on my own for 17 years, but prior to that, I had my fair share of corporate America and private sectors and stuff. But I do remember walking into a boardroom with a lot of different executives in suits and tie and all this, this whole
Mhm.
different aura about this boardroom and the conference table. And I was also 20 years younger. And
Mhm.
I would walk in, and this first glance, like, what is this little blonde girl doing here? Right? Because that's the stare you get. But you know what's cool about it? Once you start talking, the whole body language changes, the perception
Mm,
of you changes, because once you know, once they know,
right.
a whole different story. So
Yes.
it's
Walking
really just all about you.
Yeah, and walking in with that confidence, and I think a lot of women, that's what they kind of need, that little oomph too. It's a little bit of confidence to know that they're not alone, that they are smart and they can make decisions, discerning decisions for themselves. And, as I was walking through some of these difficult situations that I've been in, I started writing notes. And when I would go to these different people, I would have my notes.
Mhm.
And a couple of times the professional on the other side, they'd say, "Wow, you're really prepared," and more so than most women in your position are going through what you're going through. And I thought, yeah, you know what? This is my money. This is my time. This is
And
my
that's your
energy.
life. That's
Yeah,
your life.
yeah, exactly.
You
I
should
took it
never be
seriously.
apologetic for that.
I
So,
think they were a little surprised because I walked in with a confidence of like, hey, here I am. Let's take care of this, and let's not waste time because I'm paying you.
absolutely. And as it should be. But we all, and it's not just women, it's guys, it's everybody. It's human nature, right? We all have this, especially when we're starting to do something brand new in our life and we have to step out of that comfort zone. So we always have that little voice, and everybody has it. And if they're saying they don't, I don't believe it. We all have it. We all human beings, right? That imposter syndrome, like, oh, wait,
Mm,
am I qualified to do this? Am I
yeah.
really doing this? Are they really coming to see me to answer those questions? I remember when I went on my own, and 17 years ago, I
Uh-huh.
remember my first meeting with the first clients, like first ever clients, first people that walked in my door and sat in front of me. And I remember they asking me questions, and I'm like thinking to myself, boy, can I actually do that? I mean, they actually paid me to do this. But once they actually asked me the question, and I knew the answers inside and out, and I gave them projections, I did all of those. I'm like, damn, good for me. I actually can do.
Yeah.
I can do it than anybody else. I'm good. But that's the first thought, though. I still remember that
Oh,
that the
wow.
second guessing. But it was like, but once right? It doesn't matter. You're good.
This is interesting that you bring all of this up because one of the questions that I was thinking of asking you when I was, we were kind of going through the story and where you're at today, some of the brave moments that have shaped you. And that right there sounds like it. Ladies, it's those moments sometimes where we're like, and then we can reflect on later and go, hey, dang, you know what? I was brave. I, whether it was determination, grit, because those are kind of things that kind of, define your story. But those moments of just going, yes, I did show up in my confidence and in my knowledge and all these things. And yes, and look where you are today. You were successful at what you do, but it wasn't always so easy for you. Let's talk a little bit about your story too, and how you got to where you are today. Your story is one of, like I said, grit and determination. And at 28, you lost your husband. To
Yes,
share
indeed.
a little bit about the story that brought you to where you are today.
The irony, and I didn't even think about it when we booked this appointment today.
Uh-huh.
Today is his anniversary. How
Oh,
about that? But
wow.
anyhow, but I get to see a different perspective,
Yeah.
right? For me, it really is the time to reflect and really see this road, right? How
Mm,
windy it was, and
mm.
how it was not a smooth sailing, right? It never is, but it's a good time to really pause and reflect. And that's why because I always say there's no accidents in life, right? And
Right.
it just happened to be today is the day I actually talk about it. I'm like, how about that?
Yeah, that is. And so as you reflect back, what are some of those defining moments that come, that you're reflecting on?
So let me backtrack a minute. So
Yeah.
I was, like you said, 28. Back then I was thinking like I'm so old, and I'm like, wow, 28 is like nothing. It's like a baby. But I had so my husband had cancer, so he fought, and it was pretty up and down, just
Mhm.
a crazy ride. But my girls were 1 and 4 when it happened, and when he lost battle. And I do remember, because at that point my life was all about taxes, and I already had my CPA, and so that was the world that I couldn't step out of. But that any CPA or anybody that works with taxes, tax seasons become really time consuming. Not only time, but your mental capacity
Right.
comes with it too. And I do remember when everything happened, and it happened today, 15 years ago, actually 17 years ago, I'm sorry. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, so what do I do now? I always knew I'd be on my own, but it just kind of happened 5 to 7 years prematurely from
Mm,
my plan. And I said to myself, okay, well, I have a 1 and a 4-year-old. It's not like they go to school. I have to have childcare. I can't be in the office during tax season with my staff, and I had staff under me that didn't have any responsibilities. Nothing bad or good. It's just they could not possibly relate to me that I had a 1 and a 4-year-old. I had to leave on the dot at 5 o'clock. God forbid there's traffic to pick up my kids, and when
right.
they're all stuck till midnight working from the office, right? So I just said, I know it's not going to work long term, because it's not they mean it. They just don't know how to relate to me. So might as well not to create this animosity. And I needed to create something that will give me the flexibility, A, to take care of my kids because they're so little,
Yeah.
and B, to actually afford food for the table for them. Minor details like that. So,
Right.
so I do remember going in and
Wow.
putting in my I got through the first tax season because it happened today, like many years ago, and then I got through the first tax season, and that's like around May. I said, okay, this is not going to work long term, because when everything happens, you still have people help, and the first few months, and then everything kind of disappears, just
Yeah.
because everybody goes back to their normal lives, and that's part of normal everybody's story typically, right? You have a few people here and there, but it's not something you're going to rely on for the rest of your life, right? You
Right.
have to find avenues to be efficient and sufficient.
Right.
So, and somewhere in May, June, I started thinking, all right, so what is my long-term solution here? What is it I need to do? And I said, you know what? I have to go. It's right now is the time. Right now is the time before next tax season. I have to go on my own. It's just I have to figure out how to do it.
Oh,
And
wow.
I went to and I put in my resignation, as my partner at the time was giving me a raise of 25%, which was huge. And I was already making over 100,000 at the time. So my pay was very comfortable, but it was not the problem with the pay. But it just made it so much scarier to walk away from it, from
Right.
that to zero. So,
Yeah.
no guarantee whatsoever. But I always knew inside of me, I always knew that I will figure it out. Like I know I
Mhm.
find a way. I know that I'll be okay. That internal voice was telling me I'll be okay. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'll be okay. And and that was because my partner at the time when I put in my resignation, he was like, well, just work from home. We'll work with you, whatever it is you need. And I'm like, you don't understand. You don't understand because he might work for a month. But when my guys, my team is here like 100-hour weeks and I'm at home, do you really think that they think I'm working? Or whatever, right? It just,
Right.
they would not feel that it's fair to them. So
Right.
what's the point? So and I knew that in the long term I would have to make that decision anyway. So it's like
Mhm.
band-aid, right? You just have to do it. You just do it. And I
Wow.
do remember like it was yesterday. And I actually just recently drove by that office, and I haven't been by it in years. And just recently, my daughter had like a dermatologist appointment. It just happened to be right next door from the building I used to work at.
Oh,
Had to drive through the parking lot of that building, and I'm telling you, like last month, like literally last month. And I drove by, and I'm like, oh my God, here's my office. Here's that corner office, which was just like this, but facing the mall. Not makes any difference for, geography here. But I do remember getting in the car after I put in my resignation and driving off from the parking lot and seeing my office in a rear view mirror and thinking to myself, what the hell did I just do? Like, how I'm going to do this? Like, how am I going to do this? But
Yeah. And just think how many other women might be in a position like that. Whatever their age, there might be a spot where you have to give something up to really make life work, and not really exactly sure how that, like you said, is going to come together. But I love that you had that self-talk, that you were telling yourself that you were going to be okay, because you knew you had the wherewithal and the skills to put into action and to find a way to make it work, it sounds like.
Well, and it's interesting, right? Because we sometimes we don't realize what we're capable of actually doing it, because it takes doing to test your limits.
Right.
And I remember for a longest time I would tell myself, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What doesn't kill you. And I'm like, how much stronger can I get? I'm like, I'll take a break. I'll be good.
I hear you.
But it's interesting how some people would say, like, how do you so strong? I'm like, well, what options do I have? Not to be? Like, what are the options or alternatives I have? It's just you do what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
And at this point of my life, reflecting back, and almost, well, over 20, close to 25 years, solid 20 years of helping business owners, and actually not just helping them, building those businesses, right, for business owners. And reflecting back and everything that I've seen people do, right, everything is possible. Everything is possible. You just have to move in that direction. The problem I'm seeing a lot of people talk, but they don't do anything for it. And then they question, well, how come that it didn't happen? What did you do for it? Right? It requires action.
It does require action. Yes. And it sounds like you took action. So kind of to even start a business, you've got these two kids, you're still probably dealing with grief. What were some of the pivotal actions that you took? Do you remember, or along the way?
So if we're talking about the business structure and nitty gritty of that, it's always ever changing, right? The industry is changing, like any industry is changing. Up until about 2 years ago, I had 2 offices, so I was able to open 2 offices. And then with the technology change, I told myself, I don't need 2 offices. I can be in Fiji, sitting on the beach, doing everything I'm doing. The technology is amazing. I don't need the extra headache of the extra office. You know what's interesting to me, though, that my youngest, when I made that decision to merge into one location, nobody cared. People didn't care because the locations were like 40 minutes apart. But I live right in between, so it didn't matter to me whether I go left or right. So that worked for me. But it's just the headache of having 2 offices, staffing 2 offices, getting supplies for 2 offices, all of the technology for 2 offices, like times 2. It was just, I'm at the point that my oldest is in college, and I'm like, all right, I'm seeing the light now at the end of the tunnel. But it was interesting to me that when I made that decision to consolidate, and I had the sign at the old location with my name on it, and my little one goes, Mom, you need to take the sign. I'm like, what am I going to do with it? She goes, you don't understand. I grew up in this office. We both did. We were in this office when there were no school days, snow days, sick days, anything days. She goes, I remember this as my home. Like, I didn't think about that. But those are the things that really reinforce how great that is, seeing that life through the eyes of my children. Right?
Yeah.
And they got to actually experience that grit and determination and resilience and all of that, and not giving up. It does work, right? As long as you're persistent and staying and moving in the right direction, staying on the track, right? And really make even baby steps are better than none.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up your story a little bit here, what are you hoping that women will get out of this? Or is there something that you would like to share that for women to maybe take that determined step, or what kind of inspiration would you give them?
Just believe in yourself, right? It starts with believing in yourself. What I've noticed also in years of dealing with a lot or working with a lot of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, um, especially women have this negative self-talk for some reason,
Yeah.
right? But it starts in your mind. Perception is your reality. You make your life. Life, a lot of people live in this mentality that life happens to them, not
Mhm.
for them. So
Right.
step out of that narrative, right? Right, like right now, step out of it. Because life happens for you. You just have to see the opportunities. When you free your mind from that negative self-talk, from this, I'm not enough, I'm not I can't do those things. Once you free your mind,
Yeah.
there's so many opportunities, but we just so overwhelmed with that self-talk and the blinders that we have on. We don't see those opportunities.
Yeah. It's what you were saying, because sometimes your mind is so busy with the talk that that you don't see those possibilities and those opportunities. What if we just turn the talk off for a few minutes
Yep.
and look, got outside of our computer, outside, and just looked to see what is available? It's be interesting to take it, a couple minutes each day to see what happens.
Absolutely. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is really invest into yourself. The knowledge, right? Anything, any investment you have in yourself to better yourself as a person. And I'm
Mhm.
not even talking about the skill set, which is not, that's self-explanatory, right? The better you know something, the better you are at it, the more you can charge for it, those kind of things, right? Or
Right.
charge, period. Because that's what defines you and separates you from somebody else next door doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But really investing in yourself as a human being, because life is so full of any possibilities and opportunities. I see it day in, day out. When I was a little kid, which was interesting to me, I was probably 6 or 7, and I remember looking at people and, kind of observing people and thinking to myself, and I'm a little kid, and thinking to myself, why is it some people do what they do and don't do what they don't do? Because not doing is also a decision that they make for themselves, right?
Hmm.
Inaction is still a decision.
Right.
Or why is it some Vietnam vets coming home with missing limbs, and they're like the most grateful people and pleasant, and they have this world of wisdom, and they're just so great to be around, right? And they're just so grateful, and they have missing arms or legs or whatever, right? They never complain. But why is it some woman breaks a nail and the whole world is collapsing? Like, what is it making them? Because it all starts with your mindset, right? What you telling yourself, what your story is in your head that you're replaying to yourself.
Mhm.
So, and the answer came to me when I was probably in mid 20s, because I kept like thinking, like, what is that? Why? What makes those decisions? What drives those decisions, right, for us? And I read this book, and I can't remember now what the name of it was because it was such a long time ago. But it generally was talking about if you're a level 2 person dealing with a level 5 situation, it's a problem, right? Because you're not conditioned. Your
Right.
background, your tool set is not developed for that situation of life.
Mhm.
If you're a level 5 person dealing with a level 5 situation, it's not a thing. It's just not a day. You just check mark, done, moving on. If you're a level 10 person dealing with a level 5 situation, you don't even think about it as anything, any normal day-to-day thing. It's not a thing, right? So by growing yourself, you know, as a person, developing the resilience, the skill set, the tools that you need to have, you are that much better, right, for your future self
Yes.
than
And having a plan for that growth and seeing what areas that you need to grow in. Marina, I did that when I was walking through a divorce. I realized that my emotional status was not a 10 that it needed to be to get through some tough situations. And so I called it Karen University. And I said, these are the areas I see that are lacking in myself, or areas of opportunity of growth. And it's interesting, as I started down that road, and I thought, okay, I need to learn how to run a business, because I was starting a business. And then I thought, okay, I need to learn how to talk to people. I need to learn this. And so I started investing in myself. And as you do that, you find new areas that maybe need some little oomph, or that could use a little, more growth, and to do that and to keep doing that, because you never stop learning. I mean, relationships and communication are difficult no matter what business you're in, or maybe you're retired or a stay-at-home mom, whatever it is. If you can, like you were talking about, that be of you, that who you be, just think how much easier your life could be, and that then you can open those doors to new opportunities as well.
absolutely. And the thing is, it's evolving and never change. Like it's ever changing. It's just
Right.
not just learn and stay. Whole life is all about evolution. So I heard this saying recently, and I thought it was kind of good to hear. Illiteracy of 21st century is not ability of writing or reading. It's not being able to learn new information, relearn information, and unlearn information,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yes.
it's all conditioning.
Yes. And, as I'm a woman of a more interesting age. I'm in my 60s. And you know what? We
Or
have,
not.
yes,
Good for you. That's amazing.
I turned 65 this year, but we have to keep learning, because technology is going quick. We
Yeah.
have to learn AI and how all the uses. And that's what I love about Girlfriends, is that it's like, how are you using AI? Or, "Hey, did you know you could do this? I didn't know I could plan out like my whole year and within minutes, and have all these goals and plans." And, maybe that would be actually a really great one too, is have a growth plan of what kind of classes, and be able to budget for that. And as you get your taxes in, if you're saving money in your taxes, you can put that money into your growth.
There you go. Make that money work for you. Instead of giving to
Exactly.
Uncle Sam, invest in yourself.
Yes,
Even treating
absolutely.
yourself at the spa will be better than nothing, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes we need that too.
we
Although
do
I
need a
definitely
little
not.
pampering. Oh my gosh, what a great conversation. Thank you for coming and chatting with us. Anything you would like to leave the ladies with before we sign off?
Just really believe in yourself. Tomorrow's another day. And, we all know life kicks us down sometimes. Life, boy, do we know when life happens, it happens. But you know what? Tomorrow's another day, right? And if we can learn something from today, tomorrow will be a much better day.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your heart and your story, and some little lovely tips along the way too, which is really great. And we just thanks for being brave here with us. And ladies, we hope that you got something out of the story today, and just recognize your own brave. And that's the everyday brave that we're walking through. So we love you, and we want you to join us next time. Thanks, Marina.
Thank you. Bye bye.